Welcome, my friends, to today's Rowdy.com Big Three after a pretty good race, I thought, at the Bristol Motor Speedway.
Some nice duels there at the end.
The Jeff Bird 500 was the race. My name is Bass Masters. This is Buzz Cutler. We're here to talk about it in front of giant images of the race.
They're right back there.
Which I love. Issue number one, Buzz Cutler.
Well, issue number one, we have to give credit where credit is due. Kyle Busch swept the weekend. He's won, what, 5 in a row, 4 in a row now?
5 in a row. He swept August, 3 races in August, and he swept these 2.
Yeah. Pretty amazing run he's put together at Bristol.
Kyle Busch is the Bristol master. There's no doubt about that. He knows the feel he wants in his race car. His crew chief knows how to give him that feel, and he knows how to drive the racetrack. It helps when he had track position, which he got late in the race after a very solid pit stop. And that was all a guy like Kyle Busch needed to beat Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson out there. But the thing is, with this tire situation, which we're going to talk about in just a sec, I think it played into the hands of a guy like Kyle Busch who understands the racetrack really well, because practice time with the right side tire was very, very limited. So I think that helped Kyle a good bit.
But what's interesting about that is if you listen to Dave Rogers, they didn't have a good car. They didn't adjust well to the tire at first. And I think that is an indication that this team may have taken another step up. The fact that they were able to get through a weekend with an ill-handling car, they were able to consult some previous notes, they were able to make changes and get that car dialed in quickly enough, soon enough to bring home the checkered
Exactly.
flag.
That's adjusting to that tire, is being able to go out without a very good practice and fix it in the race, because Kyle knows what he wants at Bristol. He knows exactly what he wants.
All right, issue number 2 has got to be Carl Edwards, and not just Carl Edwards, but Carl Edwards versus Kyle Busch. Carl Edwards said after Phoenix, very matter-of-factly, very overtly, I owe Kyle Busch one. Well, this seemed to me to be the perfect opportunity to pay him back. He did bump him, but he didn't bump him enough to get him out of the way. What is Carl Edwards waiting for? Is a win not a good enough carrot for him to grab? Is he waiting for something more special?
I don't have a dispute with how Carl Edwards is handling himself. And I understand that you and other people may feel like I want him to get all rough with Kyle Busch, and certainly maybe it was deserved. But I'll say it again. Isn't it better, maybe, for Carl Edwards to have maybe something in the bank with Kyle Busch? Now, he's finished first, second, and then, of course, he did get wrecked by Kyle at Phoenix. He's had a pretty darn good start to this year. I don't think he wants to get in any dust-ups. Now, maybe you could understand if he'd hit Kyle a little bit harder, and maybe, knowing what transpired at the end of the race, that he wasn't able to get back to Kyle, he could have hit him harder or would have hit him harder if he'd known all that. But I think he's just being smart.
So what is he saving this in the bank for? What is he saving this payback for? If not a win at Bristol, then for what?
He's saving it because he doesn't have that much to gain. I'm sorry. I know a win at Bristol is something that you want. And as I say, if he'd known how it was going to play out, he might have gone for it. He might have done it. I just think having a good relationship with Kyle Busch on the racetrack, getting a little room from him, or having him be careful around you might be worth something in the postseason.
All right.
I could be crazy.
Issue number 3, Friday practice, the tires were not laying down rubber on the racetrack. As a matter of fact, Kurt Busch said, reminded him a lot of the Indy debacle a few years ago.
Reminded all of us.
Goodyear and NASCAR were not slow to react. They said, we're going to change tires up in the middle of race weekend. We're shipping over 1,200 in from Charlotte. Do you have issues with Goodyear, issues with NASCAR, issues with the way this situation was handled?
Well, look, obviously you'd prefer not to be there in the first place. And we have to acknowledge that they went to this new tire in the hopes of giving drivers something they asked for, which was more grip and a little more fall off. I really can't quibble with the way they handled it. They didn't spend a lot of time trying to make the new tire work or defending the new tire or waiting for it to rubber up the track like it was supposed to do. They pulled the plug and they went to a pre-existing backup plan. I thought they handled it pretty darn well.
Well, you know, I agree. I don't have any problems with the way they reacted to the situation at hand. I thought it was interesting. We talked to Mark Garrow from the Performance Racing Network who called the race, and he said that a NASCAR official told him Goodyear has to stop listening to the drivers.
Right.
They had a good tire last August. There was no need to go experimenting, to go changing to try to come up with a better tire.
Well, Kurt Busch made a very good point as well, Cutler. He said this car puts Goodyear in a tight box. Because the car's heavy, it's got a high center of gravity, it's very hard on the tire. It's tough to find the sweet spot in there between durability and grip. And they had it last year. They wanted a little more grip, but they lost the durability that they needed. So you got to be careful if you're Goodyear. They're under tremendous pressure to bring a tire to this racetrack. It's a very small sweet spot that they have to hit, and it's tough.
It is indeed. All right, that has been your post-race Big Three right here from the beautiful Rowdy Studios.
It's so lovely in
It
here.
is, with all our nice...
With the massive pictures of the race.
Right. Come back tomorrow. We'll have another one.
I'm Bass. He's Buzz. We'll see you next time.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.